I can see some people already coming in. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to give everyone some time um, before getting started, just to kind of let everyone come in. But I want to thank you, everyone, for coming. It is a pleasure to have you here today. My name is Isabella. I work with marketing at Tatsoft, and today we're going to be talking about building a unified namespace with Tatsoft framework. Specifically, we're going to be talking about the solution that we built for the ProveIt 2025 conference. If you do not know what that is, don't worry. We'll talk a little bit about it. And really, at the end, it's about how FrameworX outperforms other IIoT platforms in speed, flexibility, and cost. So like I said, thank you, everyone. Today, we're going to have a presentation that's going to be about 40 minutes long. And at the end, we'll open for a Q&A. You guys feel free to use the chat area to ask your questions. I'm going to have Philip, which is one of our senior engineers, keeping an eye out on questions if you guys, if it's something that we can answer in the meanwhile. But like I said, don't worry, we'll have designated time for Q&A at the end. The session is also being recorded, so I will be sending out this recording with the Q&A questions for everyone who registered. And just as a nice side note, if you guys have any problems with audio or video, let us know on chat. Check your Zoom settings. And we'll get it. So let me just say hello, everyone. I think everyone can use the chat if necessary. Like I mentioned, welcome. And I think we're good to start. So I'm going to actually introduce our guys. Like I mentioned, I'm Isabella. I have here Mark Taccolini, who's a founder and CTO, and Dave Halley, our VP of Business Development, who is actually going to be introducing a little bit of the company for us. Can you go ahead, Dave?
Sure, very good. As Isabella was saying, this is about what we did at the ProveIt 2025 conference, which was held in February in Dallas, which was a very unique conference in that normally companies show up and they've got their booths and they've got their best salespeople there and they're ready to talk to anybody that walks by about why they're the best. This conference made you prove it. That's why it's called that. You had to not say it, you had to prove what your technologies were able to do. We were excited to be there. We had a great turnout, and we're hoping you'll see the value in what we show you here in this presentation. Tatsoft, for those of you who are new to us, we've been around for a long time. We've been Tatsoft since 2009, but many of us here have experience going in the automation industry much farther back than that. But our platform is called FrameworX. It's a fourth generation software package. It's built with all the modern technologies and capabilities that you would look for SCADA and IIoT and data hub type applications. We're headquartered in Houston. We've got offices in Brazil, in the UK. We've got actually partners around the world. So FrameworX, again, is the platform. It's real-time data. It provides actionable applications. You create actionable applications, taking in the real-time data and processing it, collecting it, processing it, and using it the way that is most valuable to you. It's a high-performance HMI. You'll learn that with our technologies, you create one display, you can run that display in a very high-speed, secure environment on the plant floor. That same display runs in browsers as well as in smartphones, all from one display created with one fully integrated development tool. Go ahead. So we've been in business as Tatsoft for 16 years, and we're used in many, many different industries. And as different as the industries are that you see here, they all have a common set of needs. They need to connect to real-time data. They need to collect it, store it somewhere, process it, visualize it, analyze it. All those things is common across all these different industries. So that's why FrameworX is a fully integrated platform of tools that you can apply no matter what your industry is, what your specific need is. Go ahead. Oop. So you'll see here many of our customers, very recognizable large companies, of course, that are using us in very non-trivial, significant ways. It's not that they have a note of us somewhere, but we are used in many cases as a standard that they use to provide all their real-time visualization and analytics and things like that. But oil and gas, pharmaceutical, transportation, steel, metals, mining, materials, all those things, all those industries are represented here. And it shows, it goes to the flexibility of the platform in being applicable across virtually any sort of need that someone would have. Go ahead. So about ProveIt itself, there were several rules of engagement that all the people that were exhibiting had to adhere to. So all the solutions had to integrate from what they call the virtual factory UNS, Unified Namespace. So the people running the conference built this UNS that would provide data to all the other vendors that are there that were to take that data and provide some sort of a solution. There were the goals of the conference to demonstrate the integration of the unified namespace, to solve a real world problem, to illustrate what it takes, and talk about how much it would cost, that solution will cost the end user. So there's some reference point as to the value that you're providing for that. What were the 4 questions? What problem did you solve? How did you solve it? How long did it take to implement? And if a manufacturer wanted the solution, how much would it generally cost? And we were able to address all those questions and more at the conference. Okay, so the problem that we solved had to do with seamless data connection, visualization, transformation by integrating data from many different solutions, many different sources, many different vendors actually were providing data to the UNS, and we were able to use that data from any of the vendors in creating our solution. Our solution, based on MQTT, OPC-UA, and SQL, aggregated and analyzed data from the UNS and delivered insights into issues that may have been occurring in the operations. The time it took to create the solution for us, it just took about 2 weeks worth of engineering, and that's 2 man weeks, not a bunch of people for 2 weeks, just 80 hours approximately to create it. And the cost, including redundant servers, the solution was still the redundant servers under $20,000. The normal solution would be somewhere in the $20,000 to $50,000 that we created. And so Mark is here, and he's going to explain what that all means in terms of the technologies we used, how we put the system together, and the benefits that we provided. So Mark, if you'd like to take it from here, we'll go.
Yes, Dave, I will share my display. So let me switch to sharing my own computer now. Uh, okay, so you should be seeing the same presentation, but from my computer now. And uh, just 2 cents about frameworks itself, in case someone here is new. As Dave described, frameworks are platform to create applications around real-time data. And the concept of the product is that we have all the typical building blocks your application requires. Unlike some other platforms that need to pick and choose, in our case, our standard deployment has all the potential components and modules included. Even on the communication piece, we send more than 75 communication drivers at no additional cost on the system. So everything from the data communication, alarms, storing tool integration with storing from the market, dashboards, reports, everything included. And because it's 100% built in .NET, it makes very compatible to do integration with third-party applications and cloud systems. And you can deploy in Windows computer or Linux devices or embedded systems, thanks to .NET Core. And all modules are always included, but sometimes when doing your solution, you may need some smaller versions to do machine HMI panels or to do data collection on the edge. So not to go in detail, but the same configuration environments. We have many product models scaling down in costs to be able to, in an efficient way, cover the entire distributed architecture from the edge to the clouds. And the concepts it's easier to keep in mind when doing our configuration is we focus on those three steps. You do a connection to collect data, you process and store that data, then you do the visualization and analytics on that data. And to each one of those steps on the process, there are some modules on frameworks that are mainly used in each one of those steps. And that concept of collect, process, and visualize is what I use as a guide to start going in a little more detail about the challenges we had on ProveIt and how we organized our solution. And one last uh, information before I switch to the product itself. Again, to the ones that are newer, because frameworks are platform, it's important to understand that when you're showing a solution, like I'm going to show now, we are on the right sides here. We are showing an application running, what you call a runtime, where the specific displays that you create for that scenario are being deployed, and the real-time database, the modules, they are giving support to execute your application. And from time to time, I will switch back to what you call the designer. That's the configuration tool where you can customize those solutions, okay? Or the solution managers that see all the solutions you have in the computer. So we have both environments, and you'll be able to take a look on both a custom application and the configuration tool. And I put lots of emphasis on that because, as David pointed out, there are so many verticals that this part of the runtime, sometimes it's very different from one system to another, because those same configurations tools, they can apply in many systems. So let's go to the application. If you pick up the latest application, the latest version of the products, we are installing this demo with the installation that was based on the ProveIt solution. It's not exactly the same ProveIt solution because during the show, they have one empty broker combining data from many and many vendors, and this specific broker is not available right now. So we created a demo showing all the same concepts that were there and include that in the distribution so we have a reference. So let's talk about not everything we did because I want to talk only 15 minutes, not 2 hours. So I'll briefly touch in what are the specific requirements and on those three areas: connect, process, and visualize. Starting about the connection piece. Uh, the ProveIt, they assume they have one or more factories that was composed by some production machines, and they have a layout. I think probably it's good to have this one here that has a layout of the virtual factory, and with 4 production lines, and many vendors, they were publishing their own data in top of that environment. So essentially, you had a production line with 4 areas and a few machines in each area, and you have a few sites. But what was unique from the show is the number of assets we had during the show were way bigger than this one. That during the show we have like 25 vendors also publishing data. So this map, instead of 3 or 4 points, they had many and many more points. And the first challenge that you had to solve on the connection is some of the data they are collecting is known because it's data that you yourself are publishing, or it's data that's predefined, so we can do the traditional SCADA mapping. And some of the data uh, is dynamic. You don't know beforehand how many assets you are going to have inside this node. So some of the data that you're showing, the number of machines or devices in each area is completely dynamic. Uh, and you have to make the solution to be able to react accordingly, mixing data that's null with data that is completely dynamic. You only will learn about the data after they are such publishing. And that was accomplished in our configuration. Uh, Now I'm switching to the configuration tool of the software. When you define a solution in FrameworX, we have a very unique feature on connectivity that we define a unified namespace, and this unified namespace can compound together traditional assets where you have the assets tree, and inside the asset tree you have tags. That's the more traditional style. With that type of data, you have this little link icon that is completely dynamic. So the data that I'm showing from here down is based on whatever is right now on that MQT broker. And by the way, instead of MQT broker, could be an OPC UA server, could be a ControlLogix device, could be a historian tool. We have many and many providers for that dynamic data. So to solve the connectivity, we use a combination of two features we have in the products. The number one are the built-in protocols that we have, the 7+ communication drivers. So we did some testings, connect with some cloud tools like Azure IoT, or are doing now also AWS IoT. They have Snowflake also. So we use our standard communication drivers to show that we can get data from any protocol. And the second, and very important to in this case, was this dynamic connection. As Walker Reynolds like to call, they like to call external dynamic connection, meaning I'm getting data from another system and it's fully dynamic. To better understand that feature, this is not supposed to be a training, but I will switch to this solution to show how you can create that from scratch. So here you have a unified namespace with no data at all, and you create a new dynamic tag provider connection. To do that, you need to pick up what type of system or protocol. As you see, we have MQTT, OPC, student packages, many options for dynamic connection. I will stay with MQTT. Those are the identification securities for your broker and connect. That's it. When you have that connection, the system creates by default these MQTT nodes that, of course, you can customize those names. And when you have this data, it's not that you need to select to show all or nothing. You can go to a data source and define to show only a subset of the data. So in this example, when I'm organizing my custom data model, I may not want to show all data, but all data from this seat and down. So if you do that configuration, now my asset model is composed by data that's dynamically populated. I will show later how to use that on scripts, on displays, but right now I'm in the connection. And the final highlight, there are some other products, they have the name tag provider, but their tag provider, you need to do a server-side configuration, mapping the tags, make the data available. So they show only the final step, but they had to do lots of server setup beforehand. We don't. Those 5 seconds that took me to create the connection is all I needed. And because dynamic, in the show, we're able to connect right away with data from all the 38 vendors. And as far as I know, we're the only company that were connecting to all those vendors. So that's about the connectivity piece. Okay. Now that you are connected, you want to do some logic with that data. And in this case, it was important because this application, they were lots around OE data from the machines and also operational data from the machine. And different vendors, they were publishing data not on the same standards. So some of those machines, they're publishing the OE data, so the quality was 0 to 1. I pick up a machine that has no simulation here. Uh, so even the model of the machines are exactly the same. In the real life scenario, they're not well structured as it was in our demo. It was much messy. We have some companies publishing not following the ISA 95 hierarchy. There are some lines that then they put a machine against in another piece of the hierarchy. So that's where the scripts came in place. This data model that we created, when I go to scripts or to displays, all the modules on the system, alarms, story, reports, scripts, they have access to the entire asset model. So if you go to this object browser, you see now that this solution uh, is composed by our built-in modules. And when mapping and doing that calculation, you can directly access all data, including the data that's dynamically created. So we have that concept of the asset path. That's the unique address to each device. It's like the traditional concept of tag in a SCADA system, but extended to allow to have many namespaces and to have also dynamic data. So if you're more familiar with the traditional SCADA HMI, that we have the tags, and the tags, they have values. Just think what we're doing as an expansion of that model. So instead of having only tags, you can have paths to remote assets. And you can have also what you call our native namespaces that are the alarms, devices, and features like that. The time is not enough to show here, so I took the liberty to quote Reynolds, that was the organizer of ProveIt. He says that the fact that we have this feature, that in our product, everything is an object. If you want to create an alarm group, the alarm group is an object, so it exposes the properties. The code that you are creating is also a module, the device they are. So because everything is an object on the system, all the advanced things you need to do, like querying the CPU for performance, managing the alarms and notifications, working with specific queries database, all the advanced process of the data is much easier because you don't need to define system by brute force like other systems. Not only your unified data, but all the processing modules are built-in objects. Okay. I'll not go into much details of specific OE calculations, whatever we did to this show. Just a quick, very simple reminder to you that when you're doing that cost calculation, you can select between VB.NET, C# or Python. And for those three languages, we have the built-in code editor is all included in the platform. So that was about processing the data. Essentially, there were lots of customizations we have to do. And I'll do, as an example, going back to the visualization piece, I will show how to customize this entire navigation. Because going to the visualization piece, the last challenge they want to have is to be able to see all of that in a web page and with this level of performance. I'm not sure if, because of the zoom delay, if you guys can see this rotate thing changing about 10 times a second. Probably not. I don't know, Dave. It's changing what through a remote zone? Two times, five times a second? Tell me.
I think it's pretty fast.
Uh, yeah, it's pretty fast. It's very smooth.
Oh, great.
Half a
Yeah.
horse.
So Zoom is doing a good job, and I have a very good internet connection here also. But anyway, if you want to have the experience on your own devices, we'll show again on the ends. But go to our main website, tatsoft.com, and you see the link to run this application from your computer or even from your mobile device or in any browser. And you see the level of performance this one because there are many people that shows data on web, but we managed to do that in less than 100 milliseconds on update time. And when switching in between the many displays, so here we have the site areas where you have the visualization for the many sites. And when I click, I will say click, so you know how long it takes. So click, here it is. Click, here it is. So you see the time to switch the displays, whatever you are in a local computer or in a remote system, it's immediate. Our software, we do nowadays a lot of IoT applications and lots of applications that are managed in entire factory, but our GNA were born in the factory floor. And the factory floor, there is a mantra. If the display is not reacting in 250 milliseconds, the operator in the factory floor will start smashing the HMI. Because when you are really in the production, the expectation is much higher. So when we move our system to that level, we put lots of sophistication in the UI, like you can see here. You can out of the box switch color schemas, and there are many advanced features on the UI. But we did that keeping the same performance. Okay, and two additional features that we did on that transformation is that in our application, we create a dynamic cross-reference of everything the application is using, meaning you can rename any tag or any object anytime. I had a surprise visiting a customer a few weeks ago. We're upgrading a system from a competitor, and part of the reasons they changed the system, they have some tags that to define that 4 years ago. And to be able to have factoring and organize your data models is a practical impossibility based on how the systems were created. And again, on the connectivity, we support two types of displays. We can do displays that are traditional dashboards that they are responsive if you expand each area. But one thing that's very useful you'll see when you run this demo is that we have the concept of responsive canvas. If you see this object here I'm changing, it's a, a dashboard, but one of the components of the dashboard, the resize is not proportional as only blocks. You can define to each element on the UI how it will resize. So that's one of our unique features that we call that responsive canvas. That's very nice. So when I resize the elements here, you have full control to decide what will be, not only the traditional blocks. Of course, you also have the ability to be responsive when you open that in a mobile layout. If I can, when you run the application, or computers are not do that now, you can go here and do the simulation to see how that application will be, the look and feel on the main devices. So finally, as a prompts, I want to show at least one example of customization using scripts. And in this case, I'll combine scripts with UI. In this solution, as I told you, different vendors, they're publishing data in different parts of the tree. And in some cases on the tree, when I am in a city, I want to show the preview for what I have on that city. When I have another type of system, like I am machine, I want to show the operation of the machine. So this navigation must be very smart, especially during the show that the data was not standard at all. So to accomplish that, okay, we leverage that ability that our displays, they use WebAssembly, meaning the same high level, high speed scripting you can do in the server side, you can do also on the client side. So in this application, we have, for instance, a page called menu tree. That's this left side navigation. Okay. That we did the logic that handles all those specifics to giving the path to verify if we are in a valid area in the factory and decide what is the best page to open when you are in a factory area, or if you are in another type of assets. In those other cities, by default, you open another system. So here is how we can easily do a very advanced customization to be able to that navigation to react the way it should do. And this window that you look here, when you deploy this application, you see that when this application is running, use the feature that we have on layouts. So when this application is running, it's composed by those three layouts. We have the navigation, the main area, and the toolbar. And this display also show how easy it is to customize to custom mobile devices. So if you open later this application on mobile device, you see that all the displays are the same, but to be able to run nicer in a mobile device, when I am in a mobile device, you are not changing this menu tree. We are not changing that. And we are changing another top toolbar that's more suitable to resolution of the mobile. But those are the only difference to support the mobile. That was also the requirements to make application that not only will be responsive, but you have a custom behavior suitable for mobile devices. Uh, I believe, Dave, that probably we should doing some recap and wrap up on the features we put. Otherwise, I get excited and I start doing training. So I will comment some highlights, okay? But please, Dave, Isabella, Harry, feel free to open your mic and help me when I'm doing that recap if I miss some important points, okay? So going back to those three steps, the main technology features that were demonstrated was the ability to very easy integrate many data sources with that mix of external data sources that were dynamic and data that was previously null, okay? And we did, and the connection is bidirectional. Uh, Then on process and store, we show how easy you can customize the data using a mix of programming languages, including C Sharp, calling Python, and vice versa, to allow, in this case, was mainly data normalization, not as much analytics because of the scenario that was there, but to normalize the data from the many vendors and to organize the UI, the scripts was very important in this case. And finally, on the last step, we show all the typical requirements, the responsive dashboards, the exactly same display to run in Windows or web with that amazing performance, integration of maps, uh, responsive diagrams, support of color schemas and themes. Well, I don't know why that's not studying all applications, because when you think about the operator spend hours in front of the computer. So in my mind, that's interesting how sometimes we just accept the reality because you don't know better. Now that we have the feature that our applications can switch to many color schemas out of the box, I myself cannot live with that anymore because I thought, oh, come on, it should always be standard in applications that are supposed to be looking sometimes a few hours to that. Okay. Anyway, let's open to some questions. Otherwise, as I start going too much technical details on the implementation.
Awesome. We actually got a few right at the beginning before you went through the product family, but I feel like it's worth asking her again because Ravi asked, "This framework comes as a separate product as your SCADA." So explain me a little bit more. That frameworks is the underlying
Yes.
platform, all of that. And just to complete that, he also asked about frameworks sitting at the edge in an IIoT in UNS structure. So kind of how the edge portion fits into that, especially because we did do some changes to our edge product series. So go ahead, Mark.
Okay. Well, first of all, Dave mentioned very briefly fourth generation. So Dave, 2 seconds here. Explain to everyone why you say fourth generation, and we'll take from there to explain about that IT and that architecture. If you are there, Dave, unmute yourself. And okay, it seems I don't have you, so I'll do that piece. If some point you unmute yourself, don't be shy to just stepping in, okay? By fourth generation, what Dave was meaning, that's the fourth time you do a complete renewal of the architecture. So everyone talk about OT and IT integration for many and many years, but in our case, we did that for real. So our product was not specific designed to be a SCADA or a HMI or an IIoT or a data hub for situation awareness application. The same set of tools can be applied in all those areas because essentially what's the core in our functionalities, we put all the modules with one thing in mind, only one, very simple one, real-time data. That's it. So anything you need to manage real-time data, we were able to organize in a basic core functionality that applies in both scenarios, IT and OT. So data communication, graphics, SQL databases, alarms, notification, codes. You see those comps, they are generic. So it's the same version that applies to the entire system. What we did later was to solve a practical problem that's about architecture because we have this frameworks animated tool that one use at ProveIt at the price point of 20K. But in many cases, that's a full server, but we need something at a smaller cost. So let's start going really down here. We have this new family, Edge IoT. So you need to connect with some devices just to get data and publishing to a historian tool. So you can go as low as a few $100 in that case. If you need just a panel for a machine, we have also a scale version. So all those tools, they came out from the same environment. That's our configuration tool where you have your many solutions. And when you create a new solution from scratch, FrameworX Unlimited is all the functionality with unlimited tags, and we have many applications with more than 500,000 points. Then we can scale down. You scale down in number of points in the process. You have an area or a local automation. You have all the features of frameworks in a scale down Factory Studio solution. Or you can even lower if you have machine panels that you have not all the functionalities of the frameworks on the UI because intend to run a panel, but and smaller than points, but a much lower cost. And finally, we have the new Edge Connect family that you have a data server that's like an OPSI server in steroids and lots of steroids because it has a built-in broker. It can access SQL databases. It's a very powerful piece of software to work as an edge data server, unlimited tags. Or you can also, if when you don't need database access, you need to publish that data only to one server or to do a protocol conversion. That's a data gateway. And finally, a low-cost unit just to do data acquisition. You want to collect data, you want to normalize user scripts and publish out to a server. That's a data collector. And what's beautiful on this product line, it addresses the entire landscape of the network, and it's only one compatible configuration tool. So very easy to manage and share pieces and parts of those configurations in your final solutions.
And 100% on that, Ricardo just asked if there's a containerized version because he would like to run Edge Connect in a Docker container.
Yes, it's out of the box. If you go to our documentation website, which is docs.tatsoft.com, if I can manage to type our own company name. Okay, so if you look here for Docker, you have the information how to deploy in Docker. We have a Docker image that you can just download and use right away. Or you have here also all the documentation if you want to create your own custom Docker image for whatever reason. And we do have many applications using Docker.
Perfect. Bijan just is confirming on chat as well. I don't know if you can see it, but he says, just to confirm, FrameworX is a complete system for me to collect and place data in data Falk on clouds, do my heavy calculation, and bring the result back into FrameworX.
Yes, and I like the word complete because one of the key point that you try to have a differentiation. I'll be very blunt with you. Why you make the effort to learn one more product? Well, I'll give you some reasons. Number one, you don't have to go to pick the modules and a prod, they do their advertise. Oh, our starting point is $1,000. And when you pick up all the modules you need, oh, I need to process databases. I need alarm notification. I need alarms by voice. I need enterprise management. On the end, it's $35,000. So in our case, all the modules you see here, they are all built in on the platform. To be completely fair, there is only one exception that are the custom communication protocols for INC, the electrical energy. We have GNP and some specific interfaces specific to the power industry and the communication drivers. That's the only exception. All the modules, all the 75 communication drivers are included. And so we are very complete. We are very flexible because we do C Sharp, you do VB.NET, you do Python 3.0, and any version of Python. And we do that on the server side and do that on the client side. I was showing to our integrator from another very well-known product, our debugging tools for displays. He was amazed. Said, I can put breakpoints. I can see all my code as applying. So the time to develop and most important, the time to do the maintenance of application is a fraction of some tools that are out there that are a little older generation, like 10, 20 years ago. So it's amazing benefit on that. What else on that question, Isabel? Did I reply properly, or there are some additional?
I think it's good, but he just corrected it that instead of I read it wrong. It was Snowflake, placing the data in Snowflake. But yes, we did work with that. And I have a lot of questions. One sec. People are asking. Ricardo also thought it was nice that the built-in theme configuration. He asked if they were standard or if we can customize. We already answered they are configurable, but do you want to highlight something on that?
Yeah, it's fully customizable. We sent out of the box 12 teams, okay? So if I go to this page here, if I go to settings, user preference, we have six light themes, and we have more six dark themes, and we have more two high contrast. So we have, uh, 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 and that's very important because depending on your environment, you may want some background that's very light, or in some environments, you want a background that's more comforting to the eyes. So those exactly themes that we have in the configuration tool, here and the configuration tool, we did in version 10 that all the same themes, they are also available when you are running the application. So that is a one-one connection. And in addition to send those 12 themes plus two high contracts, we included in the software the ability to fully customize that. So if you go back to configuration, see the themes, we have two themes that you can fully customize in addition to the built-in ones. And we also have in the themes many colors that you can customize that specific color. Okay.
Nice. Cool. Another question, this one about Linux. We're asking if the new version is compatible with Linux, which I know it is. But he asks if, do I need to have a Windows computer to run the server, or can I create, edit, and run projects directly on Linux?
You can. Okay. There is one requirement to run on Linux that just to keep the tradition, I open my notepads. I don't open a notepad in a presentation, it's not me. No. You need to have installed on the computer the .NET 8 framework for Microsoft. The .NET 8, I don't know how much are you familiar with what Microsoft used to call .NET Core. That was a specific version of .NET to be multi-platform. So you can install on Linux, you can install in Mac, you can install in many and many platforms. So you can, the only requirement is to support that. And if you go to Microsoft web page and search for .NET 8, you see they did a really amazing job. They support many and many platforms you can manage, and very small footprints. You can start a Raspberry Pi. Well, we are running a Cisco router using only 400 megabytes of memory in disk. 400 megabytes, not 4 gig. That's how small can be the footprints on
Nice.
Linux and many other flavors of OSs.
Um, One real quick one that we got in the beginning was about the built-in MQTT broker. How does it scale up? I don't know if you want to highlight anything on that.
Yes. This we did our internal applications using our built-in broker. Uh, it was mainly created for development applications, because what's the difference between our built-in broker and some other broker? Okay, our built-in broker was intended originally to be a configuration tool to help the development of the applications. So essentially, our configuration broker, you see local built-in broker, you have two buttons, start and stop. It's
Mhm.
very, there is no fancy configurations. We can have some customization, but by default, it comes pre-set up to work with the same compute that you are having the runtime. And by default, also, you can publish your entire database to that broker with one click. And this broker is intended to be paired with your runtime station. It's not intended to replace enterprise HiveMQ broker on the cloud. So if you have an application from thousands to 10 of thousands of points, and our built-in uh, configuration are enough because we have a smaller set of admin tools when you compare with HiveMQ, for instance. We
Mhm.
do have admin tools, we do have security tools, but not as much as their services are capable. We had at ProveIt, I think was, do you remember it was 1.8 million or 3 million points in ProveIt? Someone that's in the audience that was in ProveIt, do you remember that?
I
I
do
think it
have.
was more than 1 million for sure. I don't remember the name of transactions we had in ProveIt, but it was the range from 1 to 10 million points and transitions. To that level, we do recommend to go to a commercial broker. At the ProveIt, it was HiveMQ. But if you want a broker to be embedded in your solution, where the number of points are in the range of thousands, not millions, our embedded broker is all that you need. There is no real need to go to another broker. It can be used to production as well.
Thanks. I have a question about minimum requirements, but before that, Richard Benamy, which is one of our customers, hi Richard, is talking about recommending we should show how displays are HTML and WPF using the same configuration, and I do think that's worth highlighting. And then how we can use third-party WPF and HTML controls in frameworks.
Okay, let's do a recap on that. Okay. When you are doing displays now, by default, all the displays you create are what you call portable. When you have a portable display, the exactly same configuration run in three environments, not only two, in three environments. And those are the three environments. The exactly same display can open as a rich client. The rich client is useful in hot standby scenarios because you install the software on your local computer and you can put more than one server here. That's the scenario for the rich clients. We have the smart client, that's a Windows application. It runs in Windows only as a WPF, but the activation is through a web URL. Or you can have also the pure web clients, where the exactly same page, exactly same drawing will render as HTML5 in any browser. So all the pages, when you see your display lists that are marked with the engine portable, mean that page will run in both environments, and the code behind of that page needs to be C# or VB.NET because they're using a technology called WebAssembly. And the controls, the third-party controls you add in this system, they need to be created with a specification that you call the portable API. So all those controls, and we are all times creating more, we created with a published API that we have, so you can create the control to be compatible to both platforms. If we need to add a control that's not compatible in both platforms, we still can create pages that are specific to one platform. So when you create the page, you can create pages to run only in WPF, so you can use any WPF control, or you can create pages that will be targeting only web. If you create pages that are targeting only web, you can use JavaScript controls, HTML5 controls, and Blazor web controls. If you create pages that are target to be HTML5 to be web only. And the code behind when it's web only, we still have the C#, but we also have JavaScript when it's web only. And the controls you can add you can add controls specifically designed for web because you're using JavaScript or some Blazor web technology that requires web pages. And what's very nice, I'll not show here because it's not supposed to be a training,
Yeah, and we're
but
at our
if you're
time.
mixing applications with web-only pages, we still can run in Windows. Using layouts and some tricks we have in the name of the files, the software will manage automatically to find a replacement page if I am not environment that page is not supported. So I'll not go on details on how, but keep in mind, even if your application needs to have some pages that are specifically to Windows or web, because integration with other components, we have ways to manage replacement displays so your application still can run in both platforms.
Yeah, I am sorry to interrupt, Mark, but we are at our time. So we do have just some final thoughts. I will answer everyone who asked questions and we couldn't get to them on by email today. So Ricardo about the minimum requirements, Andrea, we can get talk about the SQLites later. And the SMS features as well. So Dave, I think if you just want to have some closing thoughts. I will go ahead and just say I am going to email everyone the recording and everything. So go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, no, just same thing Isabella said. Thanks for coming to this. We're going to be having more of these types of presentations in the future. So we'll be sending out invitations for that, and we'll be getting to those questions that you posted that we weren't able to get to. Get those out to you here pretty quickly. And last thing is June, the week of first week of June, we will be at the CSIA conference in San Diego. So if any of you are going to be there, please make sure you come by and let us know. We can meet sometime during the conference as well.
Exactly.
So
I will be sending you guys more information about the ProveIt solution specifically, as well as a little survey that I would love for you guys to fill out. For us to get some feedback and help us improve as usual. We have a couple of things here for like the next steps that we want to do. But I don't, if you have to go, I completely understand. Thank you so much for everyone who attended. If you have any feedback, let me know. And yes, thank you. Dave, any closing thoughts? Mark as well?
Just, I really like to give a big thank you to everyone and also for the patience with my weird accents. And I go in too much detail sometimes. So thanks for being nice with me. And make sure to engage with us if you need some custom specific evaluation or have a custom scenario. Sometimes our software is so flexible that some people, frankly speaking, sometimes get lost because when you have something that can do everything, sometimes, okay, where I start? So if you bring to us some specific scenarios to our team, we can very easily point you on the right direction and you see the exactly tools that you need to your specific scenarios. So make sure to engage with us when download the software and bring us your specific scenario so we can point you in the most efficient direction.
So if you go to tatsoft.com, you can download the full development environment, completely enabled, completely unlimited, good forever, and complete, like I said, completely free. So that's always a good place to start. So thanks again, everybody. Have a great day, and we'll see you down the road a bit.
We'll see you soon, guys. Thank you so much.
And bye.